Boom shakalaka, what is going on everybody? Randall here from Crypto Love. Today's episode, I am going to be talking about why Bitcoin is even more valuable than you may think and why this Bitcoin stock to flow model doesn't even account for the reason that I'm talking about. So if you want to find out why, stay tuned for today's episode. What's up guys? Now we all know that in 55 days there's going to be the Bitcoin halving where the block reward gets chopped in half from 12.5 to 6.25 coins per block. And everybody else also knows, most likely knows, this Bitcoin stock to flow model that measures the amount of Bitcoin stock, so the amount already mined, compared to the incoming flow, the amount of Bitcoin that's being mined. So what that actually does is it gives us a pretty good estimate of where the Bitcoin price could be based on the last few halvings. So based on that, it predicts $100,000 Bitcoin after the halving, but there are other reasons that I'm going to share with you in this episode why Bitcoin price could be so much higher than that $100,000 mark and why it's not accounted for in this model here. So the first thing is, on a technical analysis way of looking at it, I mean, Bitcoin had a huge drop a few days ago on March 12th. It dropped from $8,000 all the way down to $4,800. Now, the rest of the economy has pretty much been going to shit too. But Bitcoin saw its first halving of the year where the price almost literally got cut in half. Now, if we take a look at this, it's well outside the Bollinger Bands, which are a standard deviation from the average here. But as you can see here, this green candle on March 13th, Friday the 13th, was actually completely, the full body candle was actually completely outside of the Bollinger Bands. All right, taking a look for stuff like that, I actually didn't see that occur until about January of 2015, right here after the big crash from the 2013 bubble. So that's something, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm actually talking about is this, the news from 5 days ago where the Fed is injecting $1.5 trillion in to prevent unusual disruptions in the markets. They're injecting more money in one day than they've injected in the past 5 years, basically diluting the value of every US dollar you have. If you're saving US dollars, the value just got diluted by a lot, almost by half, something huge, okay? Now, what does this actually mean for you? Well, if you're holding Bitcoin, guess what? There's a fixed amount of Bitcoin. There's only ever going to be a fixed amount of Bitcoin, 21 million. And guess what? 4 to 7 million of those are lost. So that means there's somewhere between 14 and 17 million Bitcoin out there. And you know what? When the Fed prints money, when they inject dollars into circulation, it doesn't affect Bitcoin except for positively. But some of you guys are like, but the price of Bitcoin went down, man. Well, even though the price of Bitcoin did drop here and most other things like the S&P 500 stock markets, gold, all those prices dropped, what actually happened is something good because Bitcoin just became two times more valuable, okay? It became two times more valuable because the actual value of our money just decreased by half. So Bitcoin became 2 times more valuable and simultaneously it became half price. So Bitcoin is actually 4 times more valuable than it was before this whole economic collapse thing started to happen, which is pretty awesome. So that kind of sets us up for something, which is what Cameron Winklevoss is talking about here, what a lot of other people are talking about with the value of Bitcoin being hard money, being one of the best things out there, because in addition to the Fed injecting $1.5 trillion, what they also have done is they've cut interest rates for the second time already down to 0.25%, which is this close to negative interest rates. That means that in order to hold your money in an investment vehicle, you have to pay money, which doesn't make sense. That's not an asset anymore. That's a liability. Well, Cameron Winklevoss a few months ago tweeted $17 trillion are currently held in negative interest bonds, 17 trillion reasons why you should own Bitcoin. Yeah, you think as soon as those bonds mature, people are going to search for the best producing asset, the best performing asset of the past decade? You think they might find Bitcoin? Yeah, absolutely. And when they do, they're going to be wanting to put their money into Bitcoin. And therefore, you might want to as well, but it's not financial advice. Because when the Fed injects money like this, it basically devalues the dollar. Like the dollar was strong back in 1913 when the Federal Reserve was created, when they started taxing us. Before then, there was no income tax. But in 1913, the Federal Reserve was created and income taxes were created. Initially, they were supposed to tax the rich, but then they started figuring, hey, we get so much money from the rich, we might as well get some from the middle class and the poor. And then the rich figured out ways to get out of taxes, but that's kind of an aside. But anyways, the value of the dollar is decreasing and decreasing every time they print more, but the value of Bitcoin gets more and more valuable. You have to see this as actually something that's on sale right now as opposed to something bad with a low price. So that's all for the episode today. Just want to make that video because this here is intriguing, but this stock to flow model only accounts for supply and demand based on the halving. It does not account for the devaluation of the US dollar. So thanks for watching today. If you are watching, if you enjoy the channel, I am now hiring. I'm looking for someone who's good with Photoshop, someone who's interested in being a news aggregator, so finding good news stories, and also business partner. So if you're interested, contact me right there at the email. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Peace.